Welcome to the channel, everybody. Today's goal is to make this 2002 Jeep TJ flat towable. To do that, we've bought the bracket, that bracket there. We bought the bracket from BlueOx. It came with some hardware and some instructions. And we've got the wiring harness kit for the lights. This is basically, this kit is supposed to be plug and play kind of thing, where you use the existing connectors. There's enough clearance for me to get under the Jeep without having to jack it up. But I did torque the wheels, pulled the park brake as a safety measure. Alright, I'm under the Jeep and this is the radiator. As you're laying headlong with your feet out the front of it, just to the left of it, which is the driver's side, but I'm referring to it as left. This is the steering gearbox, and there's 3 bolts holding up the gearbox. They're out here, the bolt heads are out here. This side of the bracket has 3 holes. You remove these bolts from the steering gearbox, and you got to have somebody hold the steering gearbox that way you do it, and use the hardware to mount it here. On this side, there's this vertical piece and this horizontal piece. This horizontal piece has 2 holes here. The vertical piece has 2 holes here. The vertical piece will go right up inside of here. The horizontal piece will mount against here. You got to drill holes here and here. I'm removing this cover. There's 2 bolts on each side. All right, so take those out and remove the cover. All right, so I got the bracket in on this side. Got the bolts tightened down on the driver's side. Got my C-clamp, putting a little pressure on the left side, or the passenger side, right side. Bracket is flush here. I got a little bit of a gap right there. I got a piece of a mud guard right here that I've got to pull out and trim it because it's under the bracket right there. So got to do a little prep work, then we'll drill some holes. All right, here I've got 3 of my 4 holes drilled. The clamp is in the way for one on the bottom, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put the 3 bolts in and then remove the clamp and drill the 4th hole. So through this hole, I can see my hole there. So what I've did is I've bent this so that I can get it in this hole. All right, as specified, I put a little bit of red Loctite in the nut. And we don't know how long this is going to take me to get lined up and screwed in, so it's probably going to take a while, so I'm going to put some on the bolt also. I know it looks messy, but I added a little paint to the holes I drilled on the frame, and I sprayed through the bracket to get it coated, and I sprayed through the hole in the frame to make sure I got the holes coated that I've drilled. After you get your nut tight, you want to cut this. I'll leave it just a little bit long, that way if I ever have to fish it out, it's sticking out a little bit. And take your pair of pliers, just shove it back in there. Like that. As you can see from here, these take a 9/16 socket. The steering gear box, those take a 5/8. All right, I've got 2 safety chains, 4 removable links. And those are so that you can use the eye here, put a link there, and secure this somehow to your frame, somewhere on your frame, so that if this bracket is damaged and separates from your Jeep, i.e. these 4 bolts here, that the safety cables will keep the bracket from just pulling completely away from your Jeep. I put it on, and I put it on really close to the bracket around the frame rail, and I got it through the removable link. Then I put it around my bracket. I put the cable through this hole rather than putting the removable link through here, and then I change it on itself. And there's not a lot of play. I don't know, I might leave it. We'll see. It's supposed to be there. If you don't put it there, you void your warranty. And there's your steering gear mounting bolt torque specifications, and we'll torque that to 70. We've got a 2002. I might have to pause that and read that. According to the paperwork, for grade 5 bolts, 33 foot-pounds, and for grade 8 bolts, 47 pounds. Make sure you torque yours down to the type of bolts you're given. Before I tighten down my removable links, I'm going to put a little Loctite on it. Now that we've got our bracket installed, let's do the wiring harness for the lights. All right, we're supposed to start with the driver's side. They tell you to do some stuff here. I'm going to ignore that for now. That's the driver's side tail light. We're looking at it from the bottom. Yeah, there is a cover here that's got to come out. There is a plastic Christmas tree right here. We're going to pull it out and take this cover off. Someone's already added a connector to the rear of this Jeep. And when they did it, it looks like they've used a connector of the same variety that we're getting ready to do, or a harness that, like what we have, where they split this connector. So what we're going to do is we're going to split it. We're going to try to split it again. All right, on this harness, yellow is the driver's side, green is the passenger side. All right, if we looked at this connector before we try to take the installed one apart, we can see there's a little lever here. It has to be lifted to pull them apart. So when we reach into the Jeep to pull the existing one apart, make sure we grab this lever. A word of advice before you try pulling these, and this is most connectors, make sure you push them together really tight before you try to activate the release, because a lot of times they're under tension. So push them together really tight first. All right, now that we've got the connectors apart, right here, we're going to insert our connector. I didn't feed the harness right up through here. I fed the harness up on the inside of the frame rail between the fuel tank and the hitch and the frame rail, because it has to go over to the other side. So don't feed it on the outside of the frame rail. All right, we've made connection with the connectors. This portion has to go to the front of the vehicle, and this portion has to go to the passenger side, across there. All right, did the same thing on the passenger side. Put the cover back on, and put a little plastic Christmas tree in there. I scraped away a bit of the coating that was on there to get the bare metal, and I put my ground right there on the flange, right here in the well where the wiring harness for the lights go on the driver's side. I'm gonna put a little paint on it, call it even. All right, I've got the cable pulled out to the front of the Jeep. I am going to move it over to the passenger side. I bought me a 6-way plug because this is useless. So I'm gonna put a 6-way plug in here. I've put a couple holes in my bumper. Mount my bracket there. Put my wire my cable to my connector and mount it there. All right, that's what we're gonna do. Got my bracket mounted. Got my harness wired into my 6-way. I also have this spare black cable. It's going to be connected up here to the battery. And that's because I'm going to be flat towing and I want to keep my battery charged while the auxiliary brake unit is operating. So I'm going to mount that. here. All right, there we go. Used 1/4-20 bolts. Had to widen out some holes, but got it mounted, and got to route everything, tie everything up, but you don't need to see that. And I got to make my connection at the battery, and then we'll be golden for flat towing. The only thing I'll have left to do is mount my breakaway switch, which will run into the brake unit. So that's it. I don't like the exposed wire, so I put some loom on it. And with the cover, it's going to look like that with the cover on. But I did have to make a slight modification. I had to open this up a bit to get the cables in there. No biggie. Moving right along. All right, that's the way I did it. Have a good day, everybody.